I don't think I've been introduced as the nuts and bolts before, but it's probably appropriate coming from the car industry. I was having a chat to a lady on table 5, and she said something like, we're in awe of you guys that are presenting here this week. I'm probably going to disappoint you. You shouldn't be in awe of us. I'll show you a little bit of some of the things we get wrong and some of the things that don't work well and some of the things that I'm up against in a large organisation working with these principles as we go through. So this is not going to look like Holden is a organisation of 6,000 people all going in a resilient direction. If it does, it's not true. I guess this presentation, I thought I finished it at 7:30 this morning because I figured that I wasn't going to learn much from a politician or a finance guy. But Todd, you bugger, I did. And this aspect of risk and responsibility really got me thinking. For me, I think about particularly the last couple of decades of my career at Holden, responsibility I consider a personal thing, not an organisational thing. And taking risk within the organisation, which I've done successfully, i.e. I left when I was ready to leave, has been the way I've tackled my role, particularly in management roles in the last 2 decades. So I'm going to take a risk here. I suspect no one's broken the time limit, and I'm in fear that I may. Someone from Chris, I think it is, from this table 3, said to me yesterday, if you put up a chart, make sure you leave it there long enough for us to read and understand. And I said, well, that might be difficult, you know. And he said, well, take the chart out. So I haven't taken enough charts out, I fear, so I hope I don't go too long. When I agreed to do this, I was within the car industry, not knowing that when I was here, I'd be outside the car industry. I left the car industry last Friday, and that's to your advantage because now I can tell you the truth. This presentation has not gone through Holden Corporate Affairs, which it would have had to have done if it was last week. So I've been in that car industry for 31 years, so this presentation has taken me 31 years to pull together, and as I say, I think I finished it at 7:30 this morning. So I'm a practitioner of these principles within a business, within a company, corporate environment. I don't like the word corporate, which is maybe part of the reason why I'm moved out of Holden. But don't let that concern you, because in working with you the last couple of days, and you're involved in a business and industry, nothing to do with much with what I'm doing, but in fact a lot to do with what I'm doing. And the stuff we've been doing the last couple of days, I've felt very comfortable with because it's very similar to what I've been doing within a corporate environment. So in that corporate environment, I get all the same stuff. I get pushback, I get linear thinking when I'm looking for complex thinking, and I sometimes get dysfunctional behaviour, and I think Larry mentioned that yesterday or the day before. But I've also been lucky enough to connect with capability that's given me the support to use these principles, not all the time, but sometimes, and make some difference, and that's been very exciting part of my career. So what you're going to hear is some stories connected with the principles and the framework from the car industry, and if I'm successful, you'll see through those stories the principles and maybe if 1 or 2 of them connect with you in a different way than the serial overwhelmers presentation, then I will achieve something, because I struggle. Every time I see Larry's presentation, I learn something and I walk away in a muddle. So if you're in a muddle and I get you out of a muddle for at least a minute or 2, that's success. Okay, let's start. Next slide. Oh, I got a pushing thing here. Oh, excellent. Excellent. So, excellent. Now I know how to work it. Okay, so first thought occurred to me, and this occurred to me on Tuesday morning, which is a bit scary, because on Tuesday morning I thought I'd finished the presentation. You know, why would you want to listen to someone from the car industry? And because because I've been working with the principals, but also because some of the mega conditions that we've been talking about the last couple of days, we share. So the conditions around complexity and certainly the conditions around climate change and energy are shared across multiple businesses and industries and communities. And so you might pick up something from the way we've tackled that. And also leveraging the capability of networks has never been more important and never been easier. And so that, I think, makes sense why I'm here. And I think back to in my career in the last 3 decades, when I've learnt the most is usually when I've stepped out of the car industry and connected with communities or companies nothing to do with the car industry. So just in case you don't know what Holden is, and occasionally I meet people who don't know that Holden still exists, we're a car company owned, we're a little bit embarrassed about this, owned by General Motors, who, if you read the popular press, went bankrupt recently, so that's a little bit embarrassing. 2 years ago it was to be the largest car company in the world, and this year went bankrupt. Fully integrated car company, so we do everything from design, styling, engineering, manufacturing, sales, which is pretty rare in the world and does not make any sense whatever for that to happen in Australia. And maybe I'll touch on that a bit more later on. Headquarters in Melbourne, and vehicle manufacturing happens in Adelaide. There's about 6,000 people involved in this business. When I joined Holden 31 years ago, that was about 24,000 people. But there's another part of Holden that not a lot of people realise, but a lot of people do, is that Holden is an Australian icon. It's not just an Australian company, that if Holden disappeared, there would be outrage, I think, on front page of newspapers, maybe to die away after a little while, because we are so connected with Australian culture. And one of our previous managing directors who was here, who was an American, when we had our 50th anniversary, was staggered at the engagement of the community during those celebration periods. He had never seen anything like it for decades in the US. Holistic, complex thinking, what we're talking about here, and most of my life in corporate environment within Holden and also within GM Thailand, I'm dealing with people on the left, linear thinking. And linear thinking is appropriate sometimes when it's simple, what you have to do. Sometimes it's pretty hard to move people to the other side. And my experience in working with people across the organisation, you cannot predict who is going to connect with this thinking. I've worked many projects and strategies within Holden with directors down to very junior people, and I can think of a number of occasions where the director was the least strategic thinker in the room and the most junior person the most strategic thinker in the room, and that was not possible to predict before we got into the room. So the agenda, what I'll do is give you a bit of an idea of, from a whole systems view, about Holden and the car business. Key conditions, so I'll look at those and talk about a couple of them, not all of them, and this is not all the conditions, but I've taken out some that may have some resonance and interest. Give you a bit of a flavour for the role of innovation, and my role up until last Friday was the manager of Holden Innovation within the Holden organisation, and how that connected with network capability. And then a particular case study which is of interest, which is some of the things going on with alternative fuels. Someone asked me yesterday, in fact, I'm thinking of buying a new car, what should I do to protect myself into the future? That's a pretty tricky question to answer at the moment.